Have you ever felt like no one understands you? Like your kind heart is a burden in a world that thrives on cruelty? A young student sat in his madrasa, tears in his eyes, telling his teacher he wanted to give up. What his teacher replied, using the timeless wisdom of Hazrat Ali, R.A., changed his life forever. And it might just change yours too. The rain had been falling since dawn, tapping against the dusty classroom windows like fingers insisting to be let in. The air inside was heavy with chalk dust, the faint smell of old wood, and the quiet hum of silence that only a village madrasa carried. At the front of the room sat Ustad Karim, a teacher who had spent his entire life teaching Quran, Hadith, and the wisdom of the early generations. His beard was streaked with silver. His eyes were weary yet still alive with something the world had not extinguished: hope. Across from him sat Yusuf, a young student, restless, fidgeting with his pen, staring outside at the rain as if his answers were written on the clouds. The boy had been coming to this madrasa for 6 months, but he carried a darkness inside him, one that even the Quran recitation had not fully untied. Ustad Karim noticed. He always noticed. His entire life had been about reading not only the words on a page, but the hearts of those who sat before him. He placed his old wooden miswak on the table, cleared his throat gently, and asked, "Yusuf, tell me, what troubles you today?" Yusuf blinked, pulled from his thoughts, and forced a smile. "Nothing, Ustad. I'm fine." But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. The teacher leaned forward, his eyes soft yet piercing. "Do not say, 'I am fine,' when your heart is screaming otherwise. Allah gave us tongues to speak truth, not to hide wounds." The boy's lips tightened. For a long moment he said nothing, and then, in a voice low and broken, he whispered, "Ustad, I don't belong here." The words dropped like stones into the silence. Karim's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Yusuf hesitated, his throat tightening. I feel like no one understands me. At home, my father thinks I'm weak because I don't fight back when people insult me. At school, my classmates mock me because I don't join them in their games of arrogance and cruelty. Even here, sometimes I feel like the other students look at me as if I don't fit. I don't laugh at their jokes. I don't speak much. I feel like a stranger everywhere I go." The boy's voice cracked, his fists clenched on the desk. "It hurts, Ustad. It hurts more than I can bear. Sometimes I think, maybe Allah made a mistake putting me here among these people who can never understand me." Ustad Karim's chest tightened. He had heard many confessions in his years of teaching, but this one pierced deep. He let the silence breathe for a moment before he spoke, slowly, deliberately, with the weight of centuries behind his words. "Yusuf, do you know what Amir al-Mu'minin, Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib, R.A., once said?" The boy shook his head, his eyes wet. Karim's voice lowered, carrying the rhythm of reverence. He said, "Nothing hurts a good soul and a kind heart more than to live amongst people who cannot understand it." The words seemed to settle in the boy's chest like rain soaking into dry soil. His lips parted, his breathing stilled. "Do you see, my son?" Karim continued. "You are not the first to feel this pain. The cousin of the Prophet himself, the gate of knowledge, the warrior of Badr and Khaybar, he too knew this wound. To be good in a world that does not value goodness, to be gentle among the cruel, sincere among the hypocrites, humble among the arrogant. This has always been the suffering of the kind-hearted." Yusuf's eyes flickered. "But why? Why would Allah make me like this if it only brings me pain?" Karim leaned back, his gaze distant for a moment. Then he spoke, not as a teacher to a student, but as a soul to another soul. "Because, Yusuf, the world does not need more men who are understood. The world needs men who understand. The prophets themselves, were they understood? Nah, preached for 950 years, and his people called him a madman. Musa was accused of sorcery. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad was mocked, cursed, stoned, and betrayed, even by those closest to him. If being misunderstood was a punishment, would Allah allow it for his chosen messengers?" The boy swallowed hard, his chest rising and falling. "But Ustad, it feels so lonely. The teacher's eyes softened further, a tear glistening at the edge. Yes, it is lonely, but listen carefully. Loneliness in the path of Allah is sweeter than companionship in the path of sin. Better to be a stranger on earth and a beloved in the heavens than to be celebrated here and forgotten there. The rain outside grew heavier, as if to underline the truth of his words. Yusuf lowered his head into his hands, his shoulders shaking. For a moment, Kareem let him cry, let him spill the grief he had been caging for so long. Then, gently, he placed a hand on the boy's back. "Do you know what else Hazrat Ali, R.A., said?" Yusuf sniffed and shook his head. He said, "Be like the flower that gives its fragrance even to the hand that crushes it." You were given a kind heart not to be understood, but to be a fragrance in a world of stench. Even if they mock you, even if they cannot see you, you must still give. You must still be kind. That is your jihad. The boy looked up, his eyes red, but now shining with something else, a flicker of strength. "But what if I fail? What if I grow tired?" Kareem smiled gently. "Then you turn to Allah and say, 'Ya Allah, this heart is yours. Strengthen it, and Allah, who sees every tear you cry in secret, will hold you up when your legs tremble.'" A crack of thunder rolled in the distance. The boy inhaled deeply, as though the storm outside had become a mirror of the storm within him. Loud, violent, but necessary for the earth to be cleansed. The class bell rang faintly from the corridor. The other students would soon return from break, filling the room with noise, laughter, chatter. But in this quiet pocket of time, something eternal had been planted. Yusuf wiped his face, his breathing steady now. He looked at his teacher, and for the first time in months, he smiled. Not the forced smile he had worn before, but one born from the recognition of truth. "Thank you, Ustad." Kareem nodded, his heart both heavy and light. "No, Yusuf, thank Allah, for it is He who placed this quote in your path today, so that you may carry it as armor in the battles to come." The door burst open as the students returned, their chatter flooding the room. Some looked at Yusuf strangely, as they always did, but this time, something was different. Yusuf did not shrink. He did not fold into himself. He sat taller, his heart carrying the secret his teacher had entrusted him with, that his loneliness was not a curse, but a badge of honor. As the lesson resumed, Yusuf traced the words in his notebook. "Nothing hurts a good soul and a kind heart more than to live amongst people who cannot understand it." But below it, in his own trembling handwriting, he added, "Yet nothing heals it more than knowing Allah always understands." And as the rain outside began to soften, Yusuf felt for the first time that maybe, just maybe, he had found where he belonged, not in the approval of people, but in the sight of Allah. If this story touched your heart, whisper "Ya Allah," keep my heart steadfast in the comments, and share it with someone who feels unseen. Subscribe to Deen in Minute for more heart-shaking Islamic